Thanks everybody for joining. Really excited and welcome back to SmartTake. What SmartTake is we are the #1 monthly series for learning the most essential HubSpot product updates. And today is a special edition that we're going to be talking about some of the new product announcements from Inbound 25 conference in the last couple of weeks. And so I'm Paul Schmidt. I'm the marketing lead here at SmartBug. And if you only have 1 hour, 30 minutes to learn about HubSpot updates each month, you're in the right spot. So before we get started, for those of you in the chat, I would love to see who was at Inbound or who watched the Inbound live videos on YouTube, and what was your favorite product announcement? If you can drop some of that into the chat, I would love to get some of that in here so we can see what people thought about it and what were your favorite announcements. I'll tell you mine in a little bit, but I would love to hear from everybody. Feel free to jump on in there. Today, I'm joined by Brian Wettach. Brian Wettach and I work really closely together from HubSpot. And you also see Nikki Kamau in the chat, who's going to be sharing some of the questions that are popping up inside of here. So excited to share. Let's go ahead and move forward then. Today, we're going to be going through hub by hub, sharing some of the new updates, and we will go through, there's probably like 200 updates that we're not going to be able to go through all of them today, Brian, but I think we'll get through quite a bit in this hour today. And it looks like we've already got some people chatting in. Data Hub and Marketing Studio. Yes, those are awesome. So let's jump in here into Marketing Hub first. Brian, why don't you take us through segments, the first update for this month? Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, awesome. Happy to kick it off. I think Marketing Hub got its day at Inbound this year. There's been, I don't know, I'm going to give you a little insider HubSpot scoop. Like, we started in inbound marketing, right? And a lot of HubSpot's evolution as a product has been, we've established the marketing stuff and we've really moved into the CRM, sales, and service space. And AI has changed the game and marketing has become tougher. So adapting the playbook and the tool set has become more important, and being able to apply AI in order to help adapt that marketing effort was really kind of a big focus of HubSpot's product pushes, what we're focused on. And for those who haven't dug into it, I really encourage you to dig into loop marketing as this kind of concept that overlays inbound. It's not a replacement for inbound, but it's how to use AI to really adapt to this moment, not just in content creation and copy pasting from ChatGPT prompts, but how to iterate, how to measure, how to improve. And I'll start off here with segments, because segments is a new name and a huge enhancement to HubSpot's list building tool. So formerly known as lists, it'll show on your left-hand sidebar where lists were, but it's now called segments. And the reason why we call it segments, and the reason why, like, some of the enhancements into segments, is the ability to use AI to poke around in your database and find new audiences to target. And so the list building effort is supplemented by AI through natural language assist. So being able to type in, I'm looking for all decision makers who are at companies who have purchased from us in the past 3 years. You natural language type that in, boom, it builds the filters for you. So you don't have to go through and think about, what property does that apply to? Breeze Assistant that runs, and the AI that runs in the background knows your business, knows your brand, and knows the products you sell. It knows your unstructured and structured data, and it can dig in and pull that to the fore to help you build segments. So it makes your input easier. Okay. Another enhancement to segments is the ability for HubSpot's AI, for Breeze, to give you recommendations. So it can actually say, hey, here are some things that if your goal is turning MQLs into SQLs, here's an audience segment that you should build and target, because this is the most ripe group within your existing database for approach to that goal. And then it gives you also the ability to activate those segments. And that'll be the next slide. So we'll get there in a second. A couple other really key enhancements to segments that I want to call out: the ability to add better filters and to add and or within a group. So for folks who have mucked around in filters on lists before, you may have run into that being a pain in the butt. You have to create multiple groups in order to achieve your goal, build multiple lists. You can do that now within the native interface. You can also test for a contact. So you can add a contact in and say, hey, does this contact fit this filter criteria? If yes, where? And if no, why not? And that leads into the next update, which I think is really interesting, is it shows the matching criteria for the contact. So you add an and or if then into your filter, and it can tell you, okay, all companies who have purchased from us in the last 3 years, that's 500. All decision makers, that's this total group, and how it whittles down to give you the segment that it got to. So you can adjust your filters to increase or decrease your total sample size. The last thing that I'll say, because I could go even deeper on this, is that we also give you the ability to build segments off of website visitors. Okay, that's different now. We've had the prospects tool in the past. You can see some website visitors, but you can't really build a segment off of that. And the next step, if we click to the next page, ties into personalization. Okay. So being able to take a segment and be able to personalize content at scale based on that segment is this evolution, specifically like in the what we would call like the tailor stage of loop marketing, where we're tailoring content to the audience, because people who are landing on our site aren't general research traffic anymore. They're typically have done more research through AI tools or externally on the web before they hit our page. So we want to make sure we're hitting them with really relevant messaging right away. So the ability to use web visitors in order to create a segment that you can then click a button, and HubSpot's AI can build you landing page and call to action variants. Okay, I'll say that again. You can take a segment, say it's just a certain job role in a particular industry, and from that segment builder page, action that, create a custom landing page as a variant, maybe of something you've already built, or create a manual variant. And anytime someone meets that filter criteria, when they land on that page, they're getting a totally unique experience. And that can even be, the copy can actually even be written through AI. So the ability to action those segments in a way that gives you personalized content experiences for all those visitors who land on your website are huge time savers and lifts. And I'll roll back. I think one of the things that's the biggest part about the personalization and even the segment aspect is so much of marketing is guess and check. It's like, okay, I think I know who my buyer is. I've done a lot of research. I know my persona. I know my target audience. And let me create content that will hopefully resonate with them. And do I have the right people? And the next thing is a clunky bit of like creating like a smart CTA. You've got to create a bunch of them. It's kind of a pain. And like, how many of those can you actually manage? Like, we get it. So the ability to build an AI powered variant off a landing page or a smart CTA built off that segment is huge. All right. I'll stop here because we have a bajillion other things to talk through, but those are pretty important callouts. Right now, I will say that both of these are in public beta that you need to actually opt into. If you have Marketing Pro or Enterprise, these features are available to you. All right, you just got to go into your product updates and hit request beta. And that's probably a common theme that you'll hear throughout this is you see on this tag, it says public beta in the bottom right.
Yeah, and you can see all of the, which hub is this specific update in? So look at that bottom area. You can see which region is it launched to and what hubs is it in, and what hub. And in terms of your question, Lindsay, on this, as long as you have your tracking code, HubSpot tracking code on your CMS, this is not just necessarily you have to have the HubSpot Content Hub to be able to access this type of functionality as it relates to a lot of personalization and the segments feature specifically. HubSpot tracking code gathers a lot of this kind of information. And I would just add lastly to this segment, Brian, or this part, Brian, is that when you have that HubSpot tracking code set up and you're able to start seeing some of those segments and some of those anonymized visitors on your website, it really opens up, so many more contacts that you can be marketing to. And when you think about the amount of people that are filling out forms on your website today compared to ones that were filling out 5 years ago, people are less inclined to fill out an information for an ebook, for example. And so I think by opening it up to anonymized visitors, it just opens up our ability to be able to market to a much broader audience than we've ever been able to. Next, I'm going to jump into Marketing Studio. We're going to do a live demo. Wish me luck on this, as this is a brand new product, but we actually used this within Inbound this year. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch screens over to Marketing Studio in one sec here. Okay. So Marketing Studio, this is the evolution of marketing campaigns. And what we're going to be looking at is marketing campaigns, a place essentially you can go in, aggregate all of the assets that you're working on within a campaign. Maybe it was an event or a webinar or ebook or something that you were doing for your organization. And now and this is the evolution that was in Marketing Studio. When you go into Marketing Studio, the new functionality that exists is this prompt that essentially HubSpot will help you design what are the specific assets that you should go build for your campaign. So you'll see in here, create a marketing campaign that will run from this time range with a goal of X. The campaign should target this specific audience. And then are there any other details we should include? So maybe you'd want to drop in, hey, this is really a campaign for an event and we want to communicate this new product launch. And that's really what this first part will include. And when you add all that in there, HubSpot will then spit out, here's the recommended volume of assets. Here's the type of assets that you should go create as a part of this. Okay, well, let's say if we don't want to use the AI functionality, but we still want to be able to use this builder, you can also just bypass this. And for now, we're going to bypass it. We're just going to click this step. And when you get into this area, you're going to have the opportunity to fill out the information, which a lot of this looks like the campaign's functionality in the past. But where the beauty of this is that this is a visual tool that if you've used Miro or other similar types of like flowchart software in the past, you can see how this is it allows you to collaborate with your team, start building out a campaign in a quick sort of way. So what we're going to do here is just inside of Marketing Studio, let's say we're going to do a webinar campaign. Well, as part of a webinar campaign, I'm probably going to want, if you go on the left side, you can start to add the assets that you're going to want from that. So I'm probably going to want a landing page as part of this. And in order to get people to my landing page, what should I do? Probably a couple marketing emails, and I'm probably going to want to post at least 5 LinkedIn messages. And so you can see as you add these assets inside of here, they just roll onto this physical board and start helping you plan for what you need to be able to build in the future. So as you're planning campaigns, I find this so useful because like you aren't quite ready to start drafting all this copy yet, but you probably want to think from a higher level, probably need a landing page, few emails, some social posts, and you can add all these right inside of here. And when you're ready to start building this, all you have to do is click add content, and HubSpot, you can have it either help it generate content and it can help you create the content, or if you have a specific landing page in mind, you can go ahead and click create new content, and it'll take you to the landing page builder to go build that, and that'll then attach it to this campaign. So I think that the big improvement within Marketing Studio, you got this new visual interface, makes collaboration a lot easier, and when other people jump into this Marketing Studio, you can also see them clicking around and adding assets. Additionally, you can see the other functionality inside here, like a calendar view, a Kanban board, and then a table. So there's a lot of ways that you can be collaborating with your team on this. And for folks that have used campaigns in the past, I think you'll find this to be a much easier and quicker interface that'll really help you aggregate all of your data. Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump back into the next update, and we'll go here into this next one. And Brian, feel free to jump in too. We're going to jump into AI-powered email. AI-powered email. So for a while, if you've jumped into prospecting agent at all, you've started to see that sales folks have had access to AI-generated emails or AI-powered emails. Well, Marketing Hub is now introducing AI-powered email, and this gives marketers the ability to create prompts and then use those within to help write very one-to-one emails, but for marketing emails. And why I find this really useful is that historically, when you've written email inside of HubSpot, you might be able to do, again, smart versions of emails that go out to specific segments. But at the end of the day, maybe you're only sending like 1 or 2 different versions of the email. With AI-powered email, you can go in, create a prompt, and then each one of these marketing emails is personalized to the user, into the company that they're from, the pain points that they have, and everything like that. So no demo for this today, but I think that we're going to see, email is a really powerful channel, and I think we're going to see more marketers getting into this very one-to-one type of marketing email that you likely haven't seen as much of in the past. All right, we're getting into Content Hub. Next, Content Hub, AEO strategy. This was a big update inside of Inbound this year. For those of you that have Content Hub, this is in private beta right now. And if you've used the SEO strategy tools in the past, I would almost look at this as similar as a somewhat of an update for this, but being able to optimize for AI and search engines or AI engines, LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc. And essentially what this does is it provides you with a list of recommendations that will make your content appear in LLMs will give you a higher likelihood to help you appear in other LLMs. So there's not a whole lot of detail in this product. This is in private beta, very early right now. But with HubSpot's moving quickly in its content tools to make sure that you're able to your content is getting surfaced in the right places that it should be. And we're seeing growing volume of referrals coming from LLMs. So this is just the next generation, the next wave of optimization. And by no means is SEO dead. I would never say that, but I think that we as marketers need to be also thinking about optimizing for both search and for how people are using instant answers and LLMs today.
I think that's huge. I think so many folks are using AI chatbots, let's call them that type of interface for research. And the ability to cite where content is coming from is a key feature of a chat GPT answer, let's say. And if you can be that link, if you can be that citation, that's huge. That's huge social proof and more qualified visitor traffic to your website when coming through here. One update that's just in addition to this tool is that search engine, let's call it, is now a source tag in HubSpot. So for traffic sources coming from referral link or direct traffic, AI source is actually one of those. So I think it's an important thing for folks to start thinking about and tracking what kinds of visitors are coming from an AI search location. So just want to call that out too.
I love that. In Brian, I was looking at my own reporting and all of a sudden it just started flowing in. And I was like, oh, I'm starting to see it track because there's nothing I even had to do in there. So I would say for those of you listening today, look in your analytics and look at some of your lead source and traffic source data. You'll see this AI source already in there today. All right, let's go to Prospecting Agent next, Brian. Tell us a little bit more about some of the updates from inbound.
So if folks haven't used has anyone used Prospecting Agent? I would love to see in the chat if folks have dug into this. There have been a ton of updates since this was launched. Frankly, this was talked about last year at Inbound 24 as a plan. Went into private beta, took a little while. Huge enhancements came right before Inbound and then announced at Inbound. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through Prospecting Agent because I think that this is a really important tool to demo because really where the rubber meets the road is how do we get folks in sales to be able to maximize their time and effort. The time and effort that it takes for a sales rep to receive a list, let's say from marketing or from ZoomInfo or from wherever, target list, manually do research on all of those accounts, manually craft really targeted messaging from that research. That research could be their website, the prospect's website. It could be their LinkedIn. It could be Crunchbase. It could be how do you track all the news sites for each of these contacts that you want to reach out to? That takes 30 minutes to do it really well per account. You want to get through a list of 100 and all of that effort and all that time, it can take days and days, weeks and weeks to get kind of a prospecting effort out. If you sent it at the wrong time, if your messaging was a little bit off, you're probably just going to go unread. You're probably going to go unresponded to. So how can that message land in that inbox at the right time with the right message that's going to resonate? And basically, how do you turn your SDRs or your AEs into some of the most highly productive folks? And to do so through AI is really what HubSpot has enabled folks with any of our sales tools, Sales Pro above to do. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough. It'll be somewhat abbreviated, but I want to hit on the high points so that this kind of breaks that cold start problem for folks who are thinking about doing this, but also for your sales reps who are going to be diving into the tools. All right. So imagine I'm a rep. I'm looking at the target accounts that I have been assigned to reach out to. And what Prospecting Agent does now is it looks at those target accounts and it consistently, if you enable this, it consistently does research and monitors for a signal, for a trigger event. So you could see, for example, 8 Sleep got a recent round of funding. That research was completed 7 days ago. Awesome. If I'm a rep, I'm going to go in and look at this information that is surfaced through the Prospecting Agent and all of the research that it has done. It gives me the opportunity to not only see the top signals, where that came from and references, but also who are those contacts at the company And can I take an action? Who do I reach out to get a conversation going and congratulate them and ultimately see how we can get involved in working together? So I can go ahead and manually enroll this person in the agent. So what I'll say is this is a great way to get started through kind of that manual targeting. You could also let prospecting agent run in autonomous mode, but I would encourage folks to do it in manual mode first so you can get confident and comfortable, and also tweak the prompts that go into the back end that help the agent be more personal and build your individual selling profiles. So the prospecting agent has done this research. It says, okay, we're going to enroll this person because they've hit 100 million funding in a recent Series D funding announcement. Awesome. It ties it back to what the prospecting agent knows about your business already, the data that it knows from external web research, from unstructured call transcripts, if you've had calls with Kenji in the past, from notes, from emails, from CRM data, and it crafts a series of emails that you can approve for outreach. And 3, 2, 1, go, enroll. What's more is it actually tells you what the research is. So when you do get on the phone with someone, this research is your best friend, so you can sound like a legend and you don't have to actually go and find this on your own. This is huge for reps in terms of time savings, in terms of authority, and being able to then maybe craft that email a little bit differently. If the prospecting agent didn't give you a perfectly crafted email in your tone of voice, yeah, you can edit it before it goes out. You can use this research to do so. So I think that's one of those things where folks are like, I don't necessarily trust AI to write my prospecting emails. It's going to sound generic. Well, through the research, it helps it to not sound generic and tie it back to their business and your business, because the AI can learn both, but you can also do your own research and put it into your own tone of voice. So I think that's huge. That's an example of how this works. Now, how to set it up is one of the other steps that got huge enhancements. So previously, you could only use one selling profile. Now you can build multiple different selling profiles. That means different people that you're targeting, different members of your sales team, an SDR versus an AE, and you can give it different context and different instructions. So I just want to highlight here on any selling information, you can add in your website, basically where it's pulling information from, what does your company sell, what's your value proposition. This is really important to get right, to spend the time to craft this, make it very, very personal and unique to you, because this is what the AI is building off of in order to make sure that you are represented well, and it learns over time off of some of your tools, but these prompts are really key for getting started. One other highlight that is different now is that this can be run in multiple languages. This is global. If you sell into multiple different regions or you have a distributed team, language is huge. The last bit I want to highlight is you can, or 2 more bits, you can set how persistent someone is, your agent is, the time of the day, business days, outreach frequency, so you can be more persistent or less persistent, depending on what your vibe is and depending on who you're reaching out to. The last bit is advanced settings, and this is where you can go even a step further, specifically in a selling profile, to add custom instructions. So you could say, hey, we've trained off of Sandler, and here's a couple tips that we follow for our sales reps, a different methodology. HubSpot has often said, how we sell is why we win, our internal sales reps. It's really that process of the personality you're bringing into calls. You can train and teach your agent how to approach. A couple examples, let's say. Seniority-based messaging, keep emails to under 75 words with really direct subject lines. Like, how do you want your messages to show up? You can craft your own instructions and get this thing really dialed in for you. I think this is one of the single greatest features from a sales rep perspective that can help give them the research and the data that they need, the signals to tell them who to reach out to when, so the timing's right, and the messaging pre-crafted to help them get through greater volume, because we know they're not going to get as many responses as maybe they used to, or as one might like to, for the time and effort that they would put into manually doing it. So we can cut that down, have a higher volume, and a higher likelihood of showing up with the right message at the right time.
Love it. Brian, I'm going to jump in with a couple questions from the audience. So first one is prospecting agents still relevant if your audience isn't a large company with transactions like funding? Because
of your prospect? Oh yeah. Yes. So the research thing is just, I would call that like the signals. I would call that a nice to have. It's not necessary. You can enroll someone in the prospecting agent based off of a list or segment a segment inclusion. So it doesn't have to be just that trigger, but that trigger can help those folks to say, hey, I'm working off this target list. Who should I start with first, or what should my messaging be? So that's a manual way to do outreach. So Lindsay, absolutely still relevant. And I just think of that as nice to have. And then Lindsay E, is this relevant for B2C at all? I would say that the AI personalized email that Paul talked about, the marketing email, is probably more relevant for B2C buyers, unless that B2C buyer has a sales rep assisted process. I had friends who have worked at HubSpot, they worked at EF tours. So that's an individual who's calling up a prospect and booking kind of a larger tour, a vacation planner, that type of thing. Yeah, it could be relevant in that case, but I would say more relevant with AI powered marketing email.
I would add the prospecting agent can pull in like engagement types of data. So I think, Lindsay, when you think about like relevancy to B2C, like if that person has come on your website, downloaded some sort of content, visited a bunch of pages, come back a few times, like you can see some of that information surfaced within the research. But yeah, you're not like the sort of firmographic information, technographic information, probably not as relevant for the B2C use case. Can prospecting agent find customers that are per using competitor websites for services we offer?
So this is an awesome question. HubSpot acquired Clearbit a few years ago, and the Clearbit data sources and third-party data do power the insights that we're gathering. So to what extent someone's behavior is included in that, yeah, that type of thing will be included. The biggest thing that I think is valuable about prospecting agent as it exists in kind of the standard form is it's not just pulling off of your website data, and it's not just pulling off of external internet data. It's pulling off of both, right? So we'll talk about data agent later on if we get through it, because there's so much stuff and I'm a little long winded. But those things, like this stuff, is really cool to me, because we're marrying external research done by AI tools that have huge volumes that they're trained on with your CRM data. So that's huge. Will it eliminate something like Zoom Info? One of the biggest things that Zoom Info gives that HubSpot Insights or like enrichment won't give is phone numbers and emails. So if you build lists off of Zoom Info's phone numbers and emails, it will not replace Zoom Info. I'm not going to say that HubSpot's enrichment is going to do that. However, HubSpot enrichment is now free. That was a huge update. That's not listed in this deck. There's a huge update. And if you have a paid seat of something started above, you can get enrichment. Higher levels can get further level enrichment. And you can use things like Data Agent to do custom data enrichment and research. So huge gains there. Certain things it will and won't do for you, namely contact information.
All right, we're going to keep cooking through some of these because we have about 18 left to go. We're going to go past a couple of these smarter sales meetings. So this is a little update to the meeting functionality inside of HubSpot. I really love this in that when you're meeting with a prospect or a customer, you know, what do you have on your screen? Do you have like your notes app up? Do you have your CRM app up? Do you have a Notion document up? Like, what do you use? And I think like this helps solve for like keeping things all in one place and inside of HubSpot. And this new experience essentially has all of the relevant information of who you're meeting with. It has a section for AI, like summarizes like previous questions and conversations, and it floats that up for you. It also has a section for you to add all your notes inside of here. And then when you add all those notes inside of here, those then float right within the contact timeline. So just a nice update to the meetings area where, again, keeps you inside of HubSpot versus you thinking of having to have 30 other tools on your sidebar to keep things moving forward. All right, that's Sales Hub, Commerce Hub. Brian, take us through some of the CPQ updates.
Yeah. All right, I'll be quicker on this one, but I think it's super important to highlight. HubSpot has moved pretty heavily into enabling greater power and flexibility in our quoting tools. For those uninitiated in this space, CPQ is configure, price, quote. So it's, what is the product library? How do you build product libraries? How do you add discounts? How do you process that through building the quote? And how does that go through an approval flow so that that can get out the door? That's super clunky for a lot of businesses. It takes a ton of time. It really bogs down the sales reps. So they're not selling, and they're slower at creating that quote and getting it out the door than their competitor. Their competitor looks better. This is a huge enhancement because it's built off of CRM data inside of HubSpot. There are other tools out there like PandaDoc, for example, or Deal Hub, or some other quote building tools that are external that aren't native CRMs. So that's one huge enhancement. Just the fact that we're building in greater functionality into things like tax based on line items, flexibility in terms of tiered discounting. Those were pain points that our products bundle features didn't allow for before. We're leveling up in some of those areas. For some folks where Deal Hub, for example, is really valuable, like it's probably not going to be a full one-to-one replacement yet, but for folks who are building quotes and need to build quotes faster and have kind of that quote to revenue in CRM mishmash or miss, this is going to be some huge enhancements. So I'd encourage you to dig in further. But one thing that I'll highlight is the fact that HubSpot's AI is listening to your call transcripts if you have all of this turned on, and it can create a quote based off of what it heard. It can then generate a cover letter, so an intro or an executive summary based off of all of that unstructured data of what was discussed on the calls. So it creates this quote that's a draft form in the editor. Instead of going back into another tab to then do the editor, a rep can just use Breeze Assistant to change what's on the quote, ship that thing out the door. And so all of that AI powered functionality is really neat and fast to use. And then the customer who gets that quote can use what's known as the closing agent. So it's a chat box where you can train that or like add in the knowledge sources of your terms of service, your product libraries, et cetera. And it can actually, the customer can actually chat with that agent to get more info that they might normally send an email and wait for that rep to respond. So there's a couple really cool, neat features that help speed up time to close. That's CPQ in a nutshell. Thanks for bearing with me.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would just add last thing on CPQ is like, and kind of reiterate a little bit from Brian is that, if you have a somewhat like simple catalog, product catalog, you don't have a lot of ways that the customer needs to configure lots of customization, things like that. I think like those are sort of use cases we see this getting adopted a little bit more quickly, but it's definitely growing in features and functionality and just getting more and more embedded inside of CRM. All right, Data Hub. What is Data Hub, Brian? Take us through this.
All right, gang. Data Hub. Data Hub is a rebrand in terms of title of Operations Hub. So if you're familiar with Operations Hub, you're familiar with Data Hub, or at least the features of Operations Hub carry over. And if you have Operations Hub and you're on the seats pricing model already, you've been migrated over through your existing customer that's been with us for a while, or a new customer, Data Hub gives you all of that functionality plus more. And we'll dive into them more here. So this Data Studio functionality is a huge enhancement to how you can visualize data from external systems and marry that up with your HubSpot data in data sets. So data sets used to be enterprise only, so Ops Enterprise. Now it's in Data Hub Pro. And what this does is it gives you the ability, you can see on this screenshot a little bit, but on the right-hand sidebar, you can create a list view, an index view, in Data Studio, and then add external data sources. You can add a Google Sheet, Excel sheet. You can add data from a data warehouse like Snowflake, and be able to overlay that with HubSpot and add columns from your Google Sheet into your HubSpot data view in Data Studio. So you're basically, in a sense, when you're doing an integration without actually porting over all of that data and updating all of your CRM records, you can have that overlay and you can create a segment off of that. And you can use that in personalization. So you can use external tools inside of Data Studio to create reports, to create segments that power personalization or give you insight on that data being overlaid. So that's it in a nutshell. And in the interest of time, I think we'll continue to move through some of the other features within Data Studio or Data Hub, excuse me. But for teams struggling with disconnected data, they require a lot of manual export, import, VLOOKUP. How do we match up these columns and lines? If you've done stuff outside of HubSpot before and like, dang, that was a pain in the butt, I wish we could just merge it all together. That's what this tool will enable you to do in a nutshell.
Yeah, a lot of great use cases in here for like e-commerce companies, B2C, and like manufacturing organizations that don't want to put in loads of ERP data into HubSpot, but still want HubSpot to talk with their ERP. So, Brian, I feel like we could do a whole webinar on Data Studio, but we'll keep going for the purposes of today. Along with Data Studio, another functionality and upgrade is the data quality dashboard. So within this, HubSpot's big theme, one of the big themes this year was just unified data. And when you think about all the AI that's happening that's all the innovation that's happening within AI right now, in order for you to have high quality outputs, you need good quality inputs. And so many clients that I speak with, they're really excited about using AI. But one of the first questions I ask is like, how is the state of your data today? Who's managing data hygiene and cleanliness? Who's handling keeping things updated inside of your database? And in order for you if you really want consistent high quality AI output in the long run, you really need good inputs. And so that's where some of these new functionality is rolling in here. New updates with deduplication. I think that's a big upgrade. I know HubSpot's, in the past it's been somewhat of a manual process to be able to dedupe records. And so some of the new feature sets that are rolling in are really helping you automate more of that deduplication. So this is just really helping you solve for that. And I really see the future as like someone's going to be really owning this data quality dashboard and really needing to make sure that there's not so many issues in their database just so they can leverage some of their AI functionality going forward. So that's data quality, smart CRM. Let's jump into flexible CRM views, Brian.
Okay. Two things on this kind of like smart CRM section before we dive into the flexible CRM views specifically. Announcement that was made at Inbound is that you can actually purchase the smart CRM as a standalone product. Some folks there was some confusion, to be totally honest, in terms of messaging. Like HubSpot has had this smart CRM as a fundamental core backbone of our engagement hubs, marketing hub. You get the CRM included, sales hub, CRM's included. Some folks, not that many, but I'll say some folks, I just want the CRM. Maybe if you have a lot of disparate data, a lot of disparate tools, and you don't have that unified single pane of glass, that kind of thing, CRM might be useful for you. So just think, it's not that you're missing out on something. If you have the engagement hubs, if you have marketing hub or sales hub, you have this smart CRM, but you could purchase it standalone. Think about if you've been with HubSpot for a while, we used to offer the free CRM. And it's kind of that core functionality. There's a little bit more in this. But underneath smart CRM, that's the core CRM features. Now, flexible CRM views, I think is really, really cool. So I'm going to drop this link directly to the public beta that you can opt into. And there's a couple other links in that public beta section. When you click on that link, it's in the chat. People, when you look at a view of contacts or companies, you add those filters and you add the right-hand sidebar, you create your views, you add your columns, and you got to kind of scroll through a bunch of pages to be able to see stuff on the whole, or you then take that and you're like, okay, I got to go build a report. So you have to go into the report builder, and maybe you don't even have permissions to build a report, or maybe you have a limit on the number of reports you can build. CRM views. You can now build your filters. You can go up to the top toggle and change that view from a table, like a spreadsheet view, to a board view on any object. You can change it to, in this case, what you're seeing here is a Gantt chart off of the projects object. So that's a really cool view. And this one's the best. People love this map view. Okay. You can overlay and see a map of, let's say, all the contacts based on your filters who have purchased in the last 3 years, what locations they are based on the addresses you have on a file. So super cool stuff. You can even build a report. It's like build a report or view a report on the fly just by toggling to that section and adding a couple different filters. So you don't have to go over to the reports builder, create and publish a report. You just get a view of that based on filters that you've already set up in, let's say, contact view or a company view. Really love this one. It's just user-friendly, speed to completion without opening multiple tabs or multiple different tools within.
Awesome. Yeah. So self-generating CRM data next. So this is an upgrade in Smart CRM within all the hubs. And essentially what this does is you can think about some of the data enrichment that's happening inside of your CRM today that updates contact and company information. With self-generating CRM data, essentially is if you have certain properties that you want filled in within your CRM and you want to help, you need to use AI to go in and gather information to be able to populate that specific field, then that's can then go update that in real time and keep your CRM up to date. So every single business is unique. They have certain fields that they need to gather that fall outside of your standard field types. And essentially what you can do is put a prompt in, and then AI will go gather that kind of information, come back and pull that right into a property. So I think this is so useful when you're building lists of very, very custom information that would otherwise take, somebody on your team going and doing a lot of research and going out there and using other databases to source all this information. And HubSpot really makes that a lot easier by just going out and doing that research for you, pulling it right into your CRM. Smart Insights. Brian, what do we mean by Smart Insights? What is this functionality?
Yeah, so Smart Insights are different locations across your interface where AI is giving you quick summaries. Right. So this example is at the top of a company record page, and it gives you a quick summary right at the top, the little breeze icon, the little like asterisk thing or star, and will pop in and be powered by Breeze. And it's a summary of all of the interactions. There's company summaries, there's call summaries. And when you're on an index view in the top left, there's another Breeze button, kind of like Smart Insights, or it's kind of like, Smart Insights on the last page, where it will give you like a quick summary or recommended report to build. Okay. So like flexible CRM views, excuse me, I kept misspeaking. It'll give you the ability to glean greater aggregate data without having to scroll through that whole timeline of emails or calls or notes. We know that HubSpot is a rich trove of data. If you've been using it for a while, you have a ton of interactions, but getting visibility into all of that in a quick glance is kind of tough. So you could use Breeze Assistant over in the right-hand side pane to ask for a summary of a record, or instead of even adding that prompt, what we've done with Smart Insights is we've popped that straight into records for you based on stuff that you probably want to know. So it's just a user-friendly feature. Don't skip over it because it'll actually give you some really good, solid stuff.
All right, we're cooking. All right, let's go into the Breeze section next. So Breeze Marketplace and Breeze Studio. This is, I'd say, besides Data Studio and Marketing Studio, I think this is probably the other one, top three for me, this inbound. So Breeze Marketplace and Breeze Studio, this is your all-in-one place where HubSpot just launched that all of your agents and all your custom assistants are going to live. So this is in Pro and Enterprise portals, and essentially what this will have is you'll start to see new agents that HubSpot is building inside of here that are for various use cases. Brian mentioned a closing agent earlier. That's a great agent. There's other agents like a blog research agent that can go find specific topics that you should create content around. There's the other agents that we've talked about in the past, customer agent, prospecting agent. They're all going to show up inside of here. So this is essentially your home for where all that information is going to live. You also hear a little bit about custom assistants. So we have Breeze Assistant today, which if you click the icon in the top right, it'll have that little sidebar pop out, which is your the assistant, which pulls in all of your CRM data. Soon we'll start to be seeing custom assistants where if you need very tailored experience within that assistant, that's going to start to be an option as well. So there's so much more to come. I'm really excited about Breeze Marketplace and Breeze Studio that's being launched here. That was announced at Inbound. HubSpot's working on a lot of different agents right now that folks across marketing, sales, service, ops are all going to be able to benefit from. I think we'll probably do a whole nother session on just this area as well.
Yeah, it's huge. I'll just give a quick plug. If you followed Paul, you may have seen he did a agent building workshop with agent.ai. Breeze Studio you can think of as a custom agent builder inside of HubSpot. Breeze Marketplace is your ability to discover other agents. So Marketplace is a place where we've surfaced solutions partners. We've surfaced app partners that have integrations or connect with HubSpot. Here with agents, we're servicing essentially coworkers that can do tasks for you, for your team. So there's discoverability in there to find stuff that's already pre-built, to find the agents that HubSpot has built. I highlighted prospecting agent earlier, customer agent. You can customize those through Breeze Studio, make edits and tweaks to existing agents yourself, or build custom agents from scratch down the line in the future. So I think about that as a great place for folks to shop around and get some inspired ideas and find ways to save time and increase bandwidth.
Yeah, and I would answer a question just came in, do we still want to have Agent AI or does this essentially replace it? So for those of you that have been using Agent AI is free to use. So, you don't even have to be necessarily a HubSpot customer to use this. You do benefit if you are a HubSpot customer and using Agent AI because they integrate quite seamlessly. We have a number of agents that we use ourselves that are from both of those systems. So I would say if you have a good Agent AI agent that you're using today, and it works really well for you and it's integrating with inside of HubSpot, I don't think this is you necessarily need to replace it at this moment. I think the beauty of Breeze Studio is that eventually you could think about taking that agent and building it inside of Breeze Studio. But I think that there's pros and cons of both methods. In Agent AI, there's a lot of like prompting, chaining, and things like that don't exist in HubSpot at this moment. So definitely think about the use case that you have for that and make your decision which is going to work best for your organization.
Yeah, it's all based on your evolution path of how far along you are. OpenAI enterprise account, and you've trained it on a bunch of stuff, and you kind of have dependencies already built in. Keep running with that. Like that is okay. But if you're earlier in the stage of that process of evolution and kind of adoption of AI, Breeze Studio is a great place because it has your CRM data already in it, and it has the ability to access external tools, external sources. So it's built within the interface for usability, but also because it has your data accessible already. You don't have to set up MCP and do all this other stuff. And for folks who have any concerns about HubSpot data sharing with OpenAI, with whom we have a really tight partnership, and we have a zero data retention policy, which very few people have just because of the partnership level we have that with them, and a ton of other AI security that makes sure that your data is safe and secure. And you can get a good mapping of how data gets used and where through ai.hubspot.com.
Yeah.
I'll grab the link. Just wanted to make a plug.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I would also add for Agent AI is like Agent AI is like it's like a marketplace of 1,700 or 2,000 different agents. So I think it's a good place to just go get inspired, if anything. Like go see what people are building out there. And like some of those things you could build inside of Breeze Studio. I would still keep that site bookmarked, if anything. All right. So yeah, Breeze 8 Assistant, we just talked about this. We're gonna keep going. Data Agent. Brian, what is Data Agent?
Okay. I'll dig into Data Agent here. One thing about Breeze Assistant that I want to just call out, and we skipped over quickly, is that Breeze Assistant really is like GPT-5. That's kind of what powers it. But it includes, again, references all of your existing CRM data. It's in the user interface, and it now has memory, which is huge. That's a huge update. You're not starting from scratch every time you chat with that assistant. If you've asked that assistant a couple of things in the past, if you ask that assistant to give you shorter summaries or longer summaries, it's going to remember that. And the next time you ask it to a question or prompt something, it's going to give you that based on the response that it knows about you, the user. So that's huge. That's something that people pay money for externally through GPT or other tools. You get that inside of HubSpot, baked in. Breeze Assistant is free. That doesn't consume credits. Breeze Assistant is based on just how you're manipulating and utilizing your data and even calling external data. So I just want to highlight that. Now, Data Agent. Okay, I think Data Agent is my favorite feature from Inbound. I think it's super impactful for businesses to be able to do research at scale, to cut down on the manual research that marketers will do or even sales will do, to be able to understand your leads, your prospects, your contacts, your companies, to be able to populate that data at scale using AI, and then to be able to use that and action that in strategic ways. So there's a question before, will certain elements of HubSpot replace Zoom Info? Certain things it will, certain things it won't. In this case, we're actually going quite a bit further than something like Zoom Info, because you can ask it greater, more detailed prompts to be able to populate properties inside of your CRM. Okay. So one of the features baked within Data Agent is smart properties. The other is the ability to run an agent in a workflow. So let's say hypothetically, anytime someone fills out a form on your website, you can go and add that to a workflow action, and it can go and do particular research about that company and fill in properties in your CRM, which can later be used in marketing email personalization, within sales research, within personalized landing pages or CTAs. So you're populating your CRM with prompted research based on external sources and internal sources. So I'll give you a walkthrough of this, but I think it's worth digging into, maybe even in another conversation with us. But there are a couple demo videos that I will include, or Nikki will include in the follow up. But Nikki, don't let me forget this, because I want to give folks access to some demo videos that are going to give you a really good um, view in terms of what Data Agent can do. Give you a quick demo here, and we're going to close out in the last couple of minutes. All right. What we're going to do here is imagine that we're a sales rep or a sales manager that's trying to create a target list and give our reps the context that they need in order to make really strategic outreach. And what we're talking about is the ability to, is the ability to go in and add additional columns. In this case, each of these are smart properties. You can see based on the starburst here. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and edit this smart property so you can see how this gets built. So for example, this is how a property gets built. You can set up a smart property that will automatically fill in the property values based on extracting data from a variety of sources. And those sources include unstructured data, call transcripts, notes, emails, threads, information inside your CRM, and external web sources. And you can point it at which source you wanted to research from. You can add a prompt. Let's say, what are the main pain points faced by this company? You probably want something maybe a little more detailed than this, but give you an example. And then down here, you can actually go ahead and preview the results before you go and fill, because when you fill, you will burn credits. It'll be 10 credits per action, or say per fill. So you can get an idea, is this actually giving me the kind of information that I want when I go ahead and save that prompt? Now we can see that the pain points for quadrant are listed on this field, and we can actually see through here what the prompt was, what the summary was, and then you can actually see the source data. So you can see, where did this information come from that populated this property? And in this case, it came from a call with Adrian. Right? This is really impactful for you to be able to pull out information that your business as a whole knows, or the web, let's say, knows about a contact or a company. To be able to really centralize that, that's that unified value prop of HubSpot. Not only having your information in one place, but being able to pull information from external places. So I'll give you an example of how you go ahead and create one. Go up to the top button. Also, this was an update we gave in SmartTakes the other day. You can add columns straight from here, or add properties. So I think that this is huge. You can add a column and you can essentially create a new smart property. Let's say we're going to look at company segment size, small biz, mid-market, enterprise. We can go ahead and automatically generate that property. AI will populate these recommendations based on your prompt, but you can also manually edit this stuff. And then again, it'll give you that preview. So quadrant is mid-market, Suki is enterprise. And you can either automatically fill, or you can create that property, and then you can go ahead and fill all of those, smart fill that entire column. Again, this will use credits in order to fill that, but this is going from all sorts of different sources. I think that this helps businesses and individuals get deeper insights about their existing contacts, companies, and be able to then have a more targeted and personalized approach in your sales, in your personalized marketing, your auto, your AI powered email, and to keep your data up to date. So you can also run this. So not only when a form fill completes and adds into a workflow, you can also have this auto update so that these smart properties or smart fields stay fresh. Dig into this, and the fact that it gives you the ability to preview gives you the chance to go ahead and test it out without actually burning any credits. But I will also plug that folks who have been on HubSpot, who are using Pro or Enterprise tools, get either 3,000 or 5,000 credits included per month. Gives you the chance to play around without paying us first. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, Brian, and a question came in, is like this a very specific use case, but they're asking about the quality of research. Is the quality of research, is it going to be generic? Where is it pulling your research from? If someone was asking a very specific question, what's your perspective, Brian, on that?
Ooh, I
We've
love
got
that.
about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, and how many lane miles does this government agency own? That's awesome. That's going to be web research, unless you have call transcripts where the government agency would have been on a call with one of your people. That kind of thing is exactly what I would use Data Agent for, versus having a rep or a marketer say, okay, I got to go and click through their website and do some research or do something over in Chat GPT, add a prompt, and then have to copy and paste or have to import back over. It's kind of clunky. So it does get super specific. The more specific your prompt, like where it should look or how it should format the response, it's all based on the prompt. So the prompt that was here was like kind of fluff just for a demo. So get super specific to that prompt, and then you can preview before you even burn any credits. And for what it's worth, it's 10 cents per fill. So that can add up if you're doing a whole database, but you can actually set your views and just fill everything that's in that exact view. So you don't have to go ahead and do your whole database on one particular smart property.
Thanks, Brian. And thanks everybody for joining. We have hit the end of today. Whew. And so we are going to be sending you out just some links that we shared in the chat today. If anybody wants to connect with our team, we are happy to give you a free HubSpot audit to help you take advantage of some of those new features that we talked about today. We'll also send you a link to some of the new AI Data Hub Loop marketing videos that I shot at Inbound, and we'll give you some of our latest blog posts that we published just that are all about some of the new features that we talked about today. And if you enjoyed this and want to stay up to date with HubSpot next month, please do join us October 15th. We'll be back in our normal 30-minute sessions talking about some of the new updates from this month. And that is going to do it for us today. Please let us know your feedback on this. If there's things that you'd like to be seeing a little bit more or less of, it just takes 30 seconds to get some of your feedback. Thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Brian and Nikki, and we will see you next month.
Thank you for watching.